That's right. There's only so much to go around. This is episode 230 of The Illustrious Gentleman. Scott over there is drawing Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes. Is it the Legion of Superheroes or just Legion of Superheroes? I think it's the Legion.
Yep.
Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes for DC Comics is what he's drawn. And I'm Ryan, and I'm coloring Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes for DC Comics. First issue should be out in January. As the kids say, it drops in January, and you can pre-order it now.
Like it's hot.
Yeah, my notes
still say that.
Yeah, my notes say you can reorder it now, but you got to pre-order it now, reorder it later.
Right.
Yeah. So get your ass on over to tigshow.com, click on the support the pod link to find out all the affordable and handsome ways you can support this podcast. Okay. Here we go. So I had
all
this whole
handsome ways.
I had this whole thing of this drink that I had. I wrote up a whole thing for it, and then I left it at the studio. So, it wasn't the right drink for tonight's show anyways. Tonight's show, we're going to be talking about a legitimate illustrious gentleman. So for tonight's show, I'm having a white wine spritzer, if you will, equal parts, half Pinot Grigio of the Tisdale variety that you can find at your local Circle K.
Like Ashley.
Yes, half Bay Bridge Peach Moscato that you can find for $3 at your local Fry's Grocers or Kroger's if you're in other parts of the country, and a splash of club soda. Again, I had nothing but IPAs in my fridge, and I got a Coors backup, but I don't have anything
I just
for the
finished
show
mine.
tonight.
We got to get that Kickstarter set up to get you that Bay Bridge tat.
That's right. That's
Represent.
right. I'd have to figure out how much it's worth for me to get a Bay Bridge tattoo. And I'm cheap. I'm a cheap date. It's not going to be. We're not talking like 6 digits or anything like that. Maybe with the decimal point, we're talking 6 digits. That's a joke I heard on something the other day. I can't remember what it is.
No, that's from Derek.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. So so if I'm drinking a white wine spritzer, the green belt. I should say if anyone's listening to this is going to be a podcast you might want to watch. So
needs no introduction.
Leave this playing so that we get the ad revenue. But then go ahead and watch it on YouTube so you get the full experience. This is a visual episode. But yes, the Grain Belt Northeast.
Gotta keep this to go in the jar.
Yeah, so we're both drinking something special for our special talk tonight.
Well, here goes.
Yep, you're probably going to hate it, but...
All right.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get right into it then. We'll get into our TikTok segment, world famous TikTok segment. We should sponsor our segments. We can't get a sponsor for the show, but maybe we can sponsor the segments for less money.
All the kids be watching that TikTok all day long.
That's right. Can't get enough of the TikTok. Mine's pretty. I got some comic stuff on here, but as far as TV goes, I have not watched anything except sports for the last week, other than reruns of The Office and Seinfeld that's just on when I'm putzing around. But
yeah, I feel like I watched. Yeah, I don't know. I watched some movie the other night. I don't remember what it was. I finished the original Halloween. I got through that. Meh. Sure, it's fine. It's like showing my kids The Matrix now. They've seen 20 years of garbage that has come after and been inspired by.
Right.
So the OG is not going to do it for them.
Yeah, you should give the 2018 reboot a shot. It was pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Also, just called Halloween.
Yeah, I won't do that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just sports. I watched the Arsenal game on Saturday. Watched the Cardinals game on Sunday. Fuck. Yeah, no, nothing. I can't remember what movie it is that I watched. Oh, Young Frankenstein. Yes. You were talking about Matt had mentioned Spaceballs in our chat, and I don't think that movie has aged well. I think Young Frankenstein is far superior to Spaceballs. And yeah.
But is Daphne Zuniga in Young Frankenstein?
No, but Terry Garr is.
Okay.
You're crazy.
You're crazy.
Crazy.
Okay. I did get I forgot to cancel my audiobook trial membership thing, so I got charged for audiobooks.com, which is a ripoff. It's $15 a month. You get one audiobook. So
it's the price of a regular book.
So I know. So I figured I had to like get something. So I downloaded Raylan by Elmore Leonard, which came out in 2012. So right after, so basically Justified was like a hit. So then he wrote a book about Raylan.
Sure.
And it doesn't work as well in audio format than it does in TV format. I mean, first of all, there's no Timothy Elephants in it.
Right. I will say I've never read an Elmore Leonard anything. But also, if you're a fan of the show, I think you're a fan of the show.
Yeah, like a lot of this book, the book Raylan, a lot of parts were lifted and switched for season 2. So a lot of what was happening, it actually did happen in Justified, but like different, slightly different characters or something like that. Yeah, it had familiarity, but it also just felt like a bit pointless. Like it bounced around like a season of Justified. Whereas if you're reading a book, it should be one story. And this one had like 3 stories intermixed. Like it wasn't 3 short stories, but
subplots.
Wrap up a case, move on to the next case, that sort of thing. And also,
I'll
difficult.
Leave it.
Yeah, it's also difficult to. I like audiobooks, and I really enjoyed working with it. So I'm not going to pay $15 a month though. So I might have to listen to some like classics or something. But it was difficult to hear the narrator. First of all, like he's got to do these Southern accents. And then he's got to like whenever there's like like the gangsters on there, he's throwing out like homeboy and like homie because that's how it's written. But it's like, oh, this sounds rough. The N word was dropped like 3-4 times, which is difficult to like. If you're reading it, then it's a little easier. But if just to hear it when you're not expecting it, in 2021 by a white narrator who's saying it in like in an urban voice, for lack of a better phrase. It's tough to listen to. And in the books, or at least in this book, Raylan is a much bigger asshole. He comes off as very unlikable in certain paragraphs. Wow. So thumbs down. But there's earlier books before Justified that I think might be better. Like I think maybe Elmore Leonard maybe wrote to the show a little bit. So I might go back and check out like Pronto or something else, because I did read the short story Fire in the Hole years ago, and it was good.
Yeah, I don't need it. It's like the Harry Potter books. I don't need them.
You're a foolish man. But yeah, I did pick up some comics this past week. I picked up a month's worth of comics when I went up to Flagstaff on Monday. And Catwoman Lonely City is a Black Label book by Cliff Chang. He does everything. He even letters it, I believe.
Wow.
I'd have to double check that he lettered it, but I think he did. I think he did everything on it. It's beautiful. It might be one of the best done books, start to finish. It's got like an old school vibe to it. Very limited color palette, very simple colors, which obviously I'm a fan of. And obviously a lot of people are fans of, so I don't know why we don't lean more into that in comics. So it was great all the way around. I think it's going to be like 2 or 3 oversized Black Label issues. My only problem is it's the magazine size Black Label, not the comic book size Black Label. They have sometimes they release, and they don't make bags and boards for the magazine size. It's almost square bound. It's like slightly less than square bound. So it's just it doesn't fit anywhere.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I could make it fit with enough finagling and massaging, but it doesn't fit naturally. Corey told me I have to buy like magazine size bags and boards, but like unless they sell those one at a time, I'm not buying. You have to
buy 100.
I'm not buying 100. But yeah, everyone should check out Catwoman Lonely City. It's beautiful. It's well done. It's a Selena Kyle kind of Dark Knight Returns. Like it's about her when she's like in her 50s and about Gotham, years in the future. It's, obviously in its own continuity. But it's great. It's fantastic. Also, Human Target. I don't know if you've seen on the Twitters the Greg Smallwood, Tom King prestige series Human Target.
Yeah, that probably, if I'm to pick it up, I think it's got to be in print, right?
Yeah, you want to look. Yeah, you want to. It's like an art magazine. It's something you want to have handy, and it's also that art style because it's like a '60s illustration art style. That art style works for a story like this. Like it wouldn't work on Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes, for example. It works in the '60s setting, this New Frontier type story. But yeah, I mean, this is Greg Smallwood's going to win the Eisner. There's no doubt about it. I mean, this book is phenomenal as far as just sort of doing shit that you think should have been done by now, but hadn't been done. Now that we can print comics, now that we don't have limitations on how you can print comics, there should have been like it looks like it was all drawn in like colored pencils and pastels and some watercolor thrown in.
So are Greg and Mitch going to meet behind the gym now after school?
Yeah, and then we'll have the Mann brothers will referee, for who gets control of Tom. Tom gets no say in the matter. It's like who property. Yeah, last man standing gets to keep Tom and keep doing prestige format series. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't win, best miniseries, best writer, best artist next year in the Eisners. It's actually absolutely beautiful, and it's a fun story. It's like a murder story. It's like a mystery. It's right. It's like a pulp novel in comic book form. It's all the rage right now. Yeah, all the rage.
People love murder. Love it.
Yes. My wife turned off the hockey game. That's why we got scored on so quickly. She turned it off. She showed lack of support, and she put on a murder show. It's her fault. And then last but not least, Khazar, Lord of the Savage Land, or whatever it's called, continues to be just a
Khazar.
Just continues to be such a beautiful comic book. So shout out to German or Herman Garcia and Matt Lopes.
Garcia
or Lopez.
I'm sure it's German then.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. I guess he's not Brazilian. So German Garcia.
I'm kidding.
Mateus Lopez or Lopes. I have a Latino that I share a studio with. I should probably ask him how to pronounce these things.
That would be the responsible thing to do.
It would.
The culturally sensitive thing.
Right, because I keep saying Khazar, but it's really Khazar.
Khazar. Yeah.
Like Lazar.
We have no listeners in the Savage Land now.
Like Razor. I don't know.
Razor,
like Debbie,
yes.
like Debbie Mazar. All right. You got any more TikTok for the TikTok?
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
Well, I don't know why my voice spiked, but we're going to get into this. So if you're watching this, I'm going to try to do a share screen thing here. What? Only one participant can share screen at a time. Got it. So we're going to see if this works. I know Scott and I can see it, but we'll see if you guys can see it as well.
Should, right? I don't see why.
I don't. I think I've done this before on something that I've done for like a video for Patreon. So I think it does work. It just doesn't show it. It'll work. It'll be fine. So for those that can see, we're going to be talking. We need to talk about Kevin. Have you ever seen that movie or heard about it?
Oh, Kevin can fuck himself?
No, that's a TV show. Oh. There's a movie with Tilda Swinton in it, and it's called We Need to Talk About Kevin. And her child Kevin is a psychopath, but he's like 8. But he's a full-on psychopath. Yeah.
All right. So I can see the thumbnail for the episode now. Then.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's going to be good. So Kevin Nolan, we want to do these. We mentioned we were talking a couple weeks ago about doing these like dives into artist careers.
Yeah, I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, not a
retrospective. I guess episode.
Spotlight episode. Not really a retrospective because my research involved Wikipedia and Google Images. So I don't know if we'd call it a deep dive sort of retrospective, but we are going to kind of go chronologically a little bit, talk about these images, what we liked in the books. So like I said, if you're listening to this, have a really good imagination or hop over to the tigshow.com and watch it on the YouTubes.
Open your mind's eye.
That's right. So Mr. Nolan, which every time I write his name in our Discord chat, I put a K in front of it, like a silent K. I don't know why. He's born in 1958 in Nebraska. He's a Midwest. Midwest. Yes, and he's been working in comics since 1983 is when the first book came out. But I think it said that he did like illustrations for fanzines that were popular back in the day. So he was already kind of kind of known by comic fans before he did comic work, I guess. It'd be like being like Wizard Magazine's like envelope guy. Like if you got like the envelope illustration like several months in a row, right?
Yeah.
Or drawing board. That's what it was, right? Drawing board.
Oh, those envelopes.
Yeah. But I think of him mostly as being like, I mean, he's also actually, he's a fantastic artist, but he's also the best maybe finisher ever in comics, like the best finishing style inker ever in comics.
Yeah. That's like the industry appropriate term.
Yes, I mean he can
he's like a closer.
Yeah, he can mold a gold from dog shit.
Yeah,
he's one of the few people.
Yeah, and by all accounts, he's a fantastic gentleman. So I'm sure he wouldn't actually say there's a wrong way to do something, but he seems like the ultimate, I'll show you the right way to do this sort of artist.
Yeah. And again, from this is another thing I pulled from Wikipedia, but I did check the source. I did read the article or the interview that it was in. But he self-describes himself as a finisher rather than an inker, although only in specific reference to work where you see too much of me, and has expressed an ambivalence towards the role, saying it's not the right way to ink someone else's pencils. So basically he's saying, if I need to step in, I'm going to step in and do it right. But if I don't need to step in, and I have examples at the end of the episode and at the end of this, what do you call it, slideshow, I do have 3 examples where I think he's fully taken over. You could see some of them in it, and some of it is hard to see. So I got some examples of that later on. But you don't see a lot of this anymore, like inkers doing finishes anymore. First of all, inking is becoming even more rare because most people, inkering as a specific job is becoming more rare.
Right. In the digital age, I think it's more common now for an artist on a book to do both parts. Right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say so? Is that it? I would imagine more than 50% of comics in publication have an artist that is both penciling and inking.
Yeah, I bought 5 comics on Monday, and 3 of them, the person penciled and inked, and on 2 of them they penciled, inked, and colored. So yeah, I think it's just becoming more common, for sure. And definitely, you're very, very rarely having someone go in over loose pencils and doing finishes. That would be like that. That's almost unheard of these days. But back in the day, it was much more common.
Right. Yeah. So we're looking at a Doctor Strange cover, I think. Right now.
Yeah, this is fairly recent. He did some covers for a Doctor Strange book in the last 5 years. So that's
Jason Aaron run.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. But yeah, he's probably most associated with Doctor Strange.
Yeah, funnily enough.
Yeah, I'm more I think of him more as a fill-in. Like he would do hits on DC books. Like here's a solo Batwoman story or Batgirl story. Here's a solo Man-Bat story. So I think of him more as a fill-in guy at DC, but that's not a knock. That's when you need some guy to come in and hit a fucking banger, and you need a bottle episode done, or you need an inventory episode done. You get Kevin to do it. But yeah, he's often referred to as an artist. So right, other artists are fascinated by him. He probably has more the general public or general comic fans. He's probably not a well-known name as far as just bros that read comics, but for bros that draw comics, everybody knows Kevin. Not personally.
Yeah, this is crazy. So this is what is this? A Dark Knight cover? I don't know. Showcase.
Okay.
Yeah, so he colored this one too.
Right.
It's,
yeah.
Marker, maybe?
Yeah, marker or watercolor. It's bonkers though. Whatever like he just everything pops like he yeah he like
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I wish maybe he had gone with a different color for the glove, but other than that,
yeah. So we're
just
this is
craziness. Look at that Jay Lee hair.
Yeah, but he just doesn't fuck around though, like everything is good. He could do everything. He letters a lot of his stories. His lettering is distinct. I think if I saw a comic, I'd be like, oh, this looks like his lettering. Like his lettering is distinct.
I don't know if you guys see me anymore. I can't see me, but I grabbed some stuff off of my bookshelf. I've got my Modern Masters book. I've got my Batman Black and White Volume 1, I think, with his monster story, and then Sword of Azrael, where
Inks
he
Joey Q.
Totally just possesses those pages.
Yeah, that's a good example of he doesn't overpower Joe Quesada's work, but he it's definitely there. You can see him in those pages. 100%. 100%. So yeah, he's recently done work on he just did work over Brian Hitch, I think, on a Batman book. So yeah, I mean he's still doing a lot of inking work, still around, still producing at a high level. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about his work that why is he an artist? What is it that you think what is it that you see in him or that you think other artists see in him?
I don't know. His line is particularly attractive to somebody that is a mark maker. So, okay, we're looking at this Hellboy piece now. He goes, I don't even know how to describe it. He uses shadow so effectively to like give the impression of weight. And there are a lot of people who can effectively spot blacks and make a pretty composition. But I don't know of too many artists that can make something feel heavy. And that's what I get from a lot of his stuff, especially like the folds in his fabric. I can feel like the weight of that on the skin.
Right. Like when he draws Hellboy, the thick folds makes you instantly it's a heavy coat. It's not like a light, like it's not a light material. Yeah, it's a heavy coat. Yeah, and I like it. Like I just like that he can do like these. A lot of guys who do that heavy. I'm gonna butcher this chiaroscuro style. Heavy stark black and white. Frank Miller, Tim Sale, Mignola, or whatever. Kevin can do that. Mr. Nolan, if you're nasty, he can do that. But also he can do this fine feathering. He can ink like Al Williamson, or he can ink like a classic illustrator.
You look at the tentacles on this piece,
right,
and what he chooses to sort of some of the suction cups, like on the tentacle on the bottom right there, sort of just it's all shadow work. There's no like contour lines to it, and the beefiness, you can like see the tendons and shit underneath the tentacles there. But then you look at the stone hand, and it's almost cartoony.
Yeah, he does a good job. Like things that are not supposed to look organic, they don't look organic. The gun, the right-handed doom, the pouches, they all look. They're not inked, and they don't look quite the same as the skin or the clothes or the tentacles. They look like what they're supposed to look like, which is not always the case in comics. We already looked at this Hulk a little earlier, but this is another good example of like just that lush ink work. but not a lot of those lush illustrators draw like Prince Valiant style. It's all very detailed,
very boring,
and very light and very boring. Where this is a super powerful image, but still has all this like really soft feathering and really soft line work. Yeah. So, yeah, and then he just when he knows he's going to be coloring his own stuff. I just changed to an X-Men thing from probably the late '80s. Like he leaves the hair of Longshot in this wide open because he knows it's just gonna be blonde, so it's almost white. So you don't put the details in it, no heavy shadows in it. That's gonna pop off the page. That might be the best Wolverine mask I've seen in forever and a day. So yeah, like, and this is an example where he colored himself, like I just said. So even with the limitations of coloring available in that day, he was still one of the better colorists.
His Colossus and his whitey tighties.
Yeah, but keep the whitey tighties perfectly clean and white so that it doesn't look like the metal skin. Like he does everything he does makes sense, and everything he does when you look at it makes sense. But he's also making these right decisions to make it read correctly and to make it make sense. You can see in this hand, look at Longshot's hand. Like Joe Q definitely wanted to be Kevin Nowlan when he was starting out. Like there's a lot of similarities between early Joe Quesada and like Kevin Nowlan at that time. Yeah. So yeah, to me, I just think like these artists that we think of as like artists, quote unquote, they can do everything.
I think that Longshot is Fred Willard.
He's definitely doing he's definitely been doing like guest stars on like Mork and Mindy and Three's Company and shit. But yeah, he can do everything well, and I think that's why we appreciate him. Just like again, like Brian Stelfreeze can color, can paint. Kevin Nowlan can paint. They can color, they can paint, they can ink, they can draw. Kevin can letter. And all very. He could be any of these. He could have been a colorist only. He could have been an inker only. He could have been a penciler only. He could have been a letterer only. It's just showing off and flexing that he can do everything. And I think that's why these guys get those names. Any general stuff, or do you want to just get into my slideshow that you haven't seen? This is going to be special.
No, yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, he has the most distinguishable mouths. Like his upper lips. He has a trademark on that Nowlan upper lip.
Yeah, the hint of the upper lip without drawing the upper lip. Okay, so his first real work was this is all according to what I found online. Doctor Strange number 57 from 1983. The interiors were inked by Terry Austin, but the cover here just has his name. So I think he just did the cover, or I think it was him. He penciled and inked the cover. Like I said, 1983. This, just looking at this cover, like this is someone who's just starting out in comics, and it's a pretty accomplished looking cover. Like,
yeah, I mean, it looks like everything else I would have seen. I would not have guessed that it was by a 25-year-old.
Right. And he's not quite like, this is still, I don't know his influences, but this is definitely showing some influence, maybe some Paul Smith or something going on in here. So first book from 1983. And then this is just a blow up of a little interior work. And you can see here when he's inked by Terry Austin, to me, it looks nothing like him. Like I would never be able to tell that he penciled this. Maybe Doctor Strange's hand in this example, or his face in the bottom panel. But it's funny because he does such a good job taking over a page when it's necessary. It looks like Mr. Austin here took over this page, and I don't know what the pencils look like, so I don't know how necessary that was. But it really stands out and to me, I think it hinders the work and lessens the work because it's just so bizarre.
Yeah, let's see the next one.
Yeah, this next one is from Moon Knight number 35 from 1984. Ooh. And this is inked by Carl Potts, who inked some early Jim Lee stuff, wrote Punisher War Journal when Jim Lee was on it.
Right.
And a much better inking job here as far as like kind of what I'm looking for in comics. But also much more dynamic storytelling. This is only a year after the previous page.
Yeah, it looks like Moon Knight's head came off after that hit in the last panel. It's just kind of hanging in his cowl.
Yeah, it's just floating in the cowl.
But I can see Kevin Nowlan in that leg of the Fly guy in the last panel there.
Yes, very much so. All the muscles and, like you said, like sinew and tissue and shit under there.
He does. His standard go to when the light source isn't super important seems to be the dual lighting from both sides to make the shadow on the foremost curvature part of the figure. So you get the shadow in the center of the musculature.
Yeah, it's interesting because even today I have a problem dealing with like dual light sources. Like I think one of the notes you had on one of the first things I colored for you on this new DC thing was like, oh, there should be it's like double light sourced. And to me, like my brain is just so like animation style coloring is that I'm like, oh no, there's one light source, and then it goes light to dark. I still have to wrap my head. I don't think I've ever drawn a page with a double light, like his forearm and his arm in the first panel. I know that's more of a it's more of a halo, but it's still a double light source. But yeah, I've never like drawn anything like, I don't think I've ever drawn anything like that. You know, I would have difficulty with it for whatever reason. Probably just lack of skill and effort.
Just a color note on this page. They should have colored Fly Guy's sack a different color than
it looks like
Moon Knight.
His head off.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it must have been such a bummer for colorists back then. Like, I mean, the wall is a solid blue. The roof is a solid red because they're like, we're tired of beiges and shit. Like, yeah, I mean, it works. It's funny, like reading comics as a kid, I never once questioned like, why would a roof be red, or what adult has a wall that color blue? Like, it never crossed my mind.
Now, in fantasy illustration, everything's on the table, and it doesn't take you out of anything.
Right. Okay, so our first three examples were him being inked by himself, and him kind of coming into his own. So now we're going to jump 3 years ahead to New Mutants 51, and it's full on Kevin Nowlan now.
Yeah. Look at that face.
Yeah, that's a binary Carol Danvers if you're nasty. But yeah, that's definitely a Kevin Nowlan face. New Mutants 51, 1987. And then when I was reading an article that I pulled this image from, or glancing through an article that I pulled this image from, the way they promoted this issue was guest artist Kevin Nowlan, get ready for something totally new and unique.
Oh, and then God.
The reviewers said the story wasn't really that different. They think it's because they wanted to prepare viewers for the art style. Because I don't know who was drawing it at this point, but it might have been someone like Sienkiewicz would have been gone by now. So I don't know who was on before this, but they made it a point. Yeah, they made it a point to let readers know that some weird shit's about to happen. God, New Mutants was such a good book.
Those faces are super cartoony.
Yeah, it's almost like maybe it's like a rush job, and they're like, "Hey, man, just do whatever you want." But okay, so this is an interior page next from that same issue, and just look how cartoony it is. Like,
is that Magneto?
Yeah, it's Magneto.
Looks.
But I mean, there's a page I didn't pull after this where he takes his shirt off and he has like a beer belly. So yeah, it's a little like you could say like Storm's face is a little wonky, or something like that. But it's super good cartooning from a guy who you don't think of as a cartoonist. You think of him as a draftsman or something like that. So it's like he's just playing with us now, just showing that he can do whatever he wants.
It's interesting. looking at the earlier stuff, like any other artist, a filmmaker or an illustrator or painter or musician or whatever, you can see all of the pieces are already there. It's just them assembling it in a way that it comes to be ultimately like what identifies them.
Yeah, and I just love like the bold choices. Like in this image, both of their eyebrows are fucking crazy. Like I would never have the confidence to draw eyebrows like that, but looking at it, you don't question it. You're just like, okay, that's a cool looking Matt Damon playing Magneto image, you know, like it's just it's cool. It's just cool.
That one line at the bottom of his face changes the entire shape.
Yeah.
Jowly. And right. as somebody that also draws heads that are too large, that Storm figure in the fourth panel.
Yes.
Yeah, she looks like she's 12.
Yeah. Agreed, but still, he's fucking around, and we're about to find out. He did the fucking around.
We're gonna find out. That's right.
Secret Origins Batman. We just found out.
Oh man, baby!
This is 2 years after that New Mutants issue, and only six years after his debut. And this is 100% Kevin Nolan. And I
love that standing Batman cape.
Yeah, and he colored this as well. So this is all him. This is him. No, he lettered this too. Looking at it, so this is penciled, inked, colored, and lettered. 6 years into his career, doing what many people. I mean, this is a definitive for Man-Bat fans, which they're everywhere nowadays. This is a definitive Man-Bat story.
There's a lot of similarity between him and Mignola at this point in time.
Yeah, late 80s. Yes. Yeah, very shape based as far as when you're. So earlier we were talking about how he had those distinct shadow work, heavy blacks. He still has them here, but he doesn't have the illustrative ink. He doesn't have the feathered inking. He has the heavy inking. He has the stark black and white inking.
Yeah,
style.
It's like a solid line. It doesn't look like a quill or a brush, and I know it was. It looks like a technical pen.
Yes, looks like a marker or a tech pen.
It's something that doesn't have a point on the end. You know, it doesn't trail off.
Right, like he's not using line weights in this page. This is all kind of flat line. And maybe it's because he knew he was going to color himself. So maybe this is an example where he's like, I have full control over it, so I can not have line weights and take care of it in colors. And the colors in this are amazing. Like this is what like I'm trying to get back to now, you know, or what Rico's been doing for a decade or more. Like give me some pink skies, you know, get me some dark blues, some purples.
Look at that guy thinking about pigeons.
Yeah, he's pulling a knife out of his jacket, and all he's thinking about is pigeons. Actually, maybe he's calling the guy a chicken. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
he's from Nebraska. Creepy. You'd think you know what a chicken looked like.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's a pigeon all day. I would never question what kind of fowl we're drawing here. But yeah, I mean, this is just like it's insanely good. And again, it's just a different style that he's showing that he can do well and better than probably anybody else. Like this is kind of where like Frank Miller was trying to lean into this, but maybe not as fine lined. And then, like you said, Mignola was doing this at this time, and he's like, "Well, I can do that too. You know, like whatever you want to do, I can do it."
Yeah, it's a thing you see in a lot in superhero comics, right? Where the superhero looks awesome and ordinary people are just kind of weird and cartoony, and I dig the shit out of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is totally.
There's great acting in his figures going on this page.
Yeah, when we mentioned doing this, both you and Matt on the Discord talked about like he's the master of like faces, like his facial expression work is so good, and it is, and I think it is. I think one of the things it is what it is comic book artists. We want to try to make everyone pretty and beautiful and powerful and whatever. And to make some of these faces, you almost got to make the face ugly. Like you got to put extra lines in. You got to make it look wonky. But if you could do it this well, then
no, your hero looks better by comparison. Is he driving her car? That's not the Batmobile.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's supposed to be a Batmobile. Or yeah, maybe he's just like, we'll take your car.
Yeah.
Mine's in the shop.
I got a ride here.
That's right. Oh, I got another page of this. I forgot. Yeah, so just great cartooning from this story.
And this is the story that the episode of the show was based on, I imagine.
So where I pulled the interview, I pulled these images from, which I just want to point out, like the yellowed background. I can smell this page. Like right now, I can smell what this comic book smells like. Yeah, after doing this, he got hired to do designs for the animated series. I think based mostly on like his Man-Bat in this and some other things. But yeah, I was just thinking this page reminds like an artist, Craig Rousseau, kind of draws like this now. So if you follow Craig on social media, he's been on work for Marvel, DC. He's great. He's been around for a while. He kind of draws in this open line style that Kevin was using in this.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, look at those bricks. I like well done bricks.
Yeah, well, the trick, or what I assume the trick would be if I'm drawing bricks, is don't draw every brick. Leave it open to imagination. Kevin Nolan's like, no, you draw every brick perfectly.
It's so soothing to look at.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that shit's gridded out. Like he's not freehanding shit on that. You know, no. Like it's gridded out to the everything's gridded out on here. Like just insane, just insanely good. Got some pink ass bricks on that middle panel there. Gorgeous work. Okay, and then this is a couple years later, and then this is where I think this is where I think we have like kind of the peak Nolan, like what I think of Kevin Nolan when he pencils and inks himself.
This is like the thing he was built for,
right?
Is this kind of material?
And this is from Vertigo Jam. The story is called The Castle, 1993. And I'm pretty sure he lettered this again himself. But yeah, this is what I think of when someone says a Kevin Nolan page. This is what I think of.
Second only to NBA Jam.
It's more restrained than his earlier stuff, more illustrative, but maybe he's starting to get into something too polished for me. Like I think I like that Man-Bat stuff. It's a little more exciting, but this is definitely like a master draftsman kind of approaching his peak. Yeah, I think this is written by Neil Gaiman, but we're not here to talk about writers. But yeah, this kind of stuff, like he was born to draw talking head comics and do them excruciatingly well. And I just pulled this example up to prepare you for another book that came out 3 years later, Batman Black and White, number from 1996. I think he was in issue 4. That's the one you have in front of you, right? Batman Black and White, issue 4.
The Vapors.
So this is from 1996, and this is Monsters. And my only note I wrote on this is Prime Nolan, and I misspelled Nolan. I put a K in it.
Yeah, when I had access to printing equipment in my day job, every high-res image of this particular story I could find, I printed out on 11 by 17, and I had hanging up above my my desk. Man, it's just good stuff.
Yeah, and again, he's not afraid to make the people ugly. Like he's cartooning the shit out of the bad guy, and like everything in this is a normal comic, quote unquote. But then the guy is cartoonishly kind of proportioned and hideous and stuff like that. But it works when you're this good. Like if I tried to pull this off, it would look dumb. It would look like I tried to dumb that character down, or I tried to I was just being an idiot when I drew this one character. But it works.
There's so much confidence in those face shadows. Face shadows scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, and he's doing the double light, the double light source face shadows, which That's insanely hard to pull off.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't have any more from this story.
Oh no.
But
yeah. Where is it? I've got it open and I'm looking at it right now. Like this, I don't know if anybody else can see me. Can you see me? I don't know.
Yeah, I can see you. Just hold it up to
this
your camera.
top panel.
Yeah.
Here. Oh, gets me every time.
Yeah, he just I mean, he makes the ridiculous, like this version of Batman by all accounts looks ridiculous. The oval, the jockey underwear, like he could have decided to be like he could have decided to do like the boxer shorts, boxer brief style superhero underwear, make it look a little cool, but he's like, no, we're going to do the underwear on the outside.
And two panels. They're just two panels at the bottom of the page. There's so much time that went in to laying out these two to get them the way they are and have the action flow like that. That's like 2 days worth of work for me.
Yeah, and also this is before computers were widely used, at least for line art. So it's not like I guess you could copy and paste, you could stat the panel and draw over it, but I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure he just was better than us at everything.
That whole story has got so much texture. It's just so fucking slimy. It's great.
All right, next he started doing some creator-owned work. This is from 1999. Jack B. Quick, Tomorrow Stories and America's Best Comics. The stuff that sticks, the thing that sticks out to me with these pages is he looks like he's having fun. This is the stuff he wants to draw. Midwest science shit, like weird science. Like later on, we're gonna see some pages from Hellboy, Buster Oakley, where it's like there's cows and shit. Like there's a cow in this page. He's like, I just want to draw cows and shit, chickens, and I was a fan of his America's Best Comics stuff. Again, it's like a throwback to like 60s comics, like cartoonish sort of. I'm trying to think of like an artist to compare him to back then. Not Walt Kelly, but that I don't know. There's definitely, this could be a 60s comic, drawn in 1999.
Yeah, dude is. It just look at the face on Jack in that second panel, and like he's an illustrator. Like people, that's what I tell people I do when they ask, because I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
But he's legit. Like, I don't want to say he's slumming it in comics, but I don't know. I don't know. He's one of the guys that's going to end up. His shit's going to be on the wall of a museum at some point. Yeah,
agreed. And he's still one of the best letterers I've ever seen. His lettering is dynamic and it's fantastic. So now we're jumping to a pencil page from X-Men First Class Special from 2007. That's my note for this. Besides it being just obscenely gorgeous to look at, is look how tight he pencils for himself when he knows he's going to ink himself. This is nuts. And maybe that's why those lines seem so confident, is because he already knows what they're going to look like.
He's not making any decisions in the inks.
Yeah. You would think he is, because he's such you think of him as such a good inker. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like you look at some stuff you look at and you think, I will never be able to draw anything that well, and I will never draw a face close to as good as that face. Yeah, I mean, this is just insane. And again, this is 2007. I'm pretty sure there wasn't a Google SketchUp in 2007, because I would have been using it. So maybe he lightboxed this house from some photo or something like that, but I don't think he did. And if he did, good for him.
Yeah, the lines on his backgrounds have as much character and depth as his figures. And it's just, oh man.
Yeah, and at this point, technology did exist. They were like, well, for the story, because this image we're looking at has a story title at the bottom, and I'm sure someone at some point was like, well, we'll just Photoshop in something, and he's like, no, I got it. I'm gonna hand draw in fucking everything, just to show you that I'm also a better designer than anyone you have on staff. And I'm gonna draw like the world's greatest beast that in a 1 by 1 inch square that you're ever going to see. And then my last example of just straight up K. Nolan art is a couple pages from Buster Oakley Gets His Wish, 2007 Hellboy story. And I just pulled this up as an example of like, there's like 2 or 3 dudes who can draw Hellboy good. You got Mignola, you got Duncan Fegredo, and then maybe like one other dude, and then this is as good a Hellboy as you're going to see. And I love that he draws. He might have been the first guy. I mean, Mignola might have even picked up on this, that he's like, let's draw the bottom jaw like a hinge instead of part of a mouth.
It looks like a Muppet.
Yeah, he does. It just like great. Look at this. This Hellboy is fucking great. It's so good. And again, he's not afraid to like let the hero shine and let like these aliens look like idiots. Like they don't have to look like, I think in comics, if Batman's fighting someone, we need to draw who he's fighting up to Batman's level so that it makes sense that he would be a worthy adversary for Batman. But looking at these, you're like, no, everyone else on the page can be absurd. The important part is in the bottom left-hand corner, and it's a shot of Hellboy being confused. So good. So good. And even the technology, that's like a Kirby, it's like Kirby tech with floating pigs.
I love his machines.
Yeah. Great stuff. All right, we're gonna wrap up here with 3 examples of him inking over other artists. So this is from, I don't know the year. This is an example of his finishes, not his inks. I would call these his finishes. Hold
on. Okay, over
Andrew Kudelka.
Oh, I wouldn't. Okay, yeah.
But I mean, you look at Jade's face, especially her face, and all this, and the double lighting, and it's. I mean, if I just glance at this, my first thought is, oh, Kevin Nolan inked that over somebody. If he didn't draw it himself. Like there's certain giveaways in the lower panels that makes me think he didn't draw it, but like panels 2 and 3, I would almost believe that he drew those panels. So this is an example of him doing finishes and kind of completely taking over a page. And I assume it's for the best. I don't know what the pencils look like, but if he's doing this, he's putting in work.
Yeah. This is, I agree. I feel like this was probably saved.
Okay, so that was his inks over Andrew Kudelka. Next is inks over Jose Garcia Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see how much more restrained he is here.
Because, it seems like a frequent collaboration, those two. And I'm sure it's my guess it would be Kevin requesting that assignment.
Yeah, or Garcia Lopez requesting Kevin.
Yeah, he seems Lopez seems like a guy that's also a pro favorite.
Yes, I agree. So you can see in here, like there's certain things like Mixoplex's clothes. I can kind of tell that's Nolan's inking, and maybe his face in some of these panels. But like, there's no dead giveaways. He didn't really have to stray too far from the pencil work on this page.
No, yeah, which goes a long way to telling me that I think he's probably a huge fan of Jose. Yeah,
and then my last example is you'd be hard pressed to find anything of Kevin on it, and it's Rick Leonardi. It's a Witchblade page.
Oh man!
But this is kind of an odd. I mean, I guess the baby's face in the last inset panel is very Kevin. Nolan. But other than that, it's very true to Rick Leonardi's work. Odd that this far into his career, he'd be taking an inking assignment on Witchblade. So maybe he just wanted to ink over Rick Leonardi. This is probably from the last decade or so.
You figure he's a guy that's in high enough demand where he's probably turning down things. So when he takes something, it's something that he has some interest in.
Yes. So this is one of those pages that I give. If I just glanced at it and didn't see that last panel, especially the eyes, nose, and lips of that last panel, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even guess if someone said, "Do you know who inked this?" It'd be hard for me to even guess. But yeah, those lips. You're right. The Kevin Nolan lips. They're as noticeable as like a whose fist? Like I rip off like Cory Walker fists all the time, or Bruce Timm fists. Yeah, Bruce Timm fists and Kevin Nolan lips. That's what we got in this industry. But there you go. Kevin Nolan is one of the best. One of the best.
One of the best.
Yes. Any final thoughts?
No. That was, I'm sure, a nicer episode for us than it is for the viewing / listening audience.
Right. But, well, maybe we sold a couple Amazon copies of Batman Black and White. Again, I think it's in issue 4. I asked you that. You never answered me.
I don't know. I have to trade. I have no idea. But I'm in that headspace right now. There's two options when I look at shit. Either it's, that's really cool, I want to do cool stuff, or it's, that's so much better than me, why am I even getting up in the morning? And right now I'm in the former. So this is a good time to do this kind of episode. So I won't just be in bed for the next week.
Speaking of things that are great, how was your Northeast? Your grain belt Northeast? You can be honest. You don't have to be nice to me.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know that I would reach for it if I had another option. So if it was between this or my banquet, I'm probably going to pick up my banquet. It's fine. It's not.
You don't know what you don't know what you're talking about.
It tastes like a generic Kolsch style American lager. I couldn't pick it out of a lineup. I appreciate it though. I appreciate the thought.
Yeah, I should have kept it for myself. All right, so what are you going to give it? For the one guy who has to update his spreadsheet, the listener who keeps a spreadsheet.
Well, because it's from you, I'm going to bump it up a little higher than I would if it had been from anybody else.
Right.
So I'll give it a 3.5.
All right. So instead of a sympathy hump, you're giving it the sympathy bump.
It's the Cody bump.
That's right. All right. I'm going to give my my Bay Bridge,
so lucky.
My white wine spritzer here. I love it. This is all I want to drink. I was upset. I'm finally done with Coors Banquet. I had, just because of going to backyard parties and going to Albuquerque and bringing beer. I had so much Coors Banquet over just in my possession that I had to get through, that I'm so happy to be getting back on the wine. It's going to be nice to get on some lighter fare. So this is a 4.5 all day. I've had people say it's too sweet. I've had people say it's too tart. So much like myself, it's right there in the middle.
Ah,
I'm going to give it a 4.5.
well, good.
All right. So send us two big fans of Kevin Nolan out this week.
Oh yeah. I guess be kind.
That's right. And it's Nolan with an N, not with a K.
That's right.